Hello and welcome to Bits and Bytes Live, the live version of the VMware Telco blog, where we aim to capture some of the stories through the lens of the communication service provider and particularly relevant to us today. Today on Bits and Bytes Live, I'm going to be continuing the conversation under the theme of the power of community. And in that, to continue that conversation, I am really pleased to welcome Jambi Ganbar, who is our Director of Validation Programs within the Telco BU. Jambi, welcome.
Hi, Nigel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. We so you and I go back quite a while, I think, in the development of the telco solutions within VMware. So it's great to have you on the call. It would be greater if we could do this in person, but we haven't probably met in person for probably almost 18 months now. So it's good to at least be able to share this conversation. And for people watching, I'd explain I'm based in the UK, and Jambi, you're based in
Berlin, Germany.
Berlin in Germany, indeed. So hopefully we'll fix that, or hopefully the world will fix that. We'll get to meet shortly. So look, the reason we wanted to bring on the call, Jambi, is because we've got this theme of power of community, and you, for a long time now, have been leading the programs that we put in place, working with, in this case, a community of other technology vendors and technology partners. So the interesting thing for me, and the reason I wanted to have this conversation, was you've developed a community amongst that vendor ecosystem, which is in itself very aligned to both working within the community, but also delivering some value back out to the customers. So what I wanted to do was to have a conversation with you, and we'll get on to the programs that you run and how those actually enact in real life. But I wanted to take a bit of a step back to start with and ask you, what was it, I don't know what, 5-6 years ago, I think we started really seriously getting into this. What was it that you were seeing and others were seeing in the industry that started the process of saying, okay, we need to do something here? And what was it that led you to conclude that actually the thing to do was to do what you do now, which is manage quite an extensive certification program?
That's a really good question. So 5 years ago, or slightly more than 5 years now, when we started the program, there were two aspects, really, or two different forces. One was the natural place where VMware is at, and I'll expand on that in a second. And the second, what we are seeing from customers from the industry. So VMware, at the time where telecommunication networks were starting to transition from physical devices to software, VMware has already been in that space for quite a while, and we've always been a company that really valued ecosystems. We had a robust ecosystem program. We always worked together with other vendors, and it was sort of a natural for a company like VMware that's really in the business of helping other customers with a digital transformation. So it's always like, you need to achieve some business goal and you want to use VMware to achieve that, but then there's always somebody else. It's either the server, the NIC, the network interface vendor, the application running on top of you. So we knew how to run ecosystem programs in the company. And then we were seeing the customers, the telecommunication service providers, or communication service providers, that were trying to disaggregate their networks from basically big boxes that were just doing one thing to some kind of a x86 with a layer, which was VMware, and additional network functions running on top of that. So for them, this was a natural ask from VMware to, hey, how do we build this telco cloud that we're trying to build with your help as the platform? And so basically we took what we knew of building ecosystems and applied this to this space, to the telcos.
And that's an interesting point, actually, and a very valid one, because you're right. Although people may be aware if they follow VMware or use our technology, we are very much an ecosystem player, exactly as you say. And actually, we have a lot of, if you like, compatibility type programs. But this was slightly different, wasn't it? And so what's happened here is that there's a specific use case, if you like, that network transformation that was different from what we'd seen before. So that then triggered the idea of this completely separate addition. So you're kind of taken a new, you've applied the old or the known techniques, if you like, but to a new application, a new use case. So I guess that was new for us. It was presumably new for the vendor ecosystem as well. So what was it like actually in the early days of getting this program off the ground? Did did people come running? Did you have to explain it? How did it build?
So initially we had some support from some vendors. Actually, even at the launch of the program, we had a few vendors that really were supported from the beginning. But I would not say that it was necessarily an immediate aha moment. It took some time. We had to work together with our customers and the ecosystem. So in essence, it was something like a game of American football. Somebody had to throw the ball, somebody had to catch the ball. We were there to catch it, and the customers were actually the ones, so the communication service providers, our customers, were actually the ones that were telling their suppliers, hey, we are building a platform where we want an open platform. We want to have best of breed workloads or applications running on that platform. The platform of choice is VMware. So please go work with VMware to get ready for our network. And obviously it took some time. As any evolution in technology, things take time. Nothing happens like this on day one. And we also actually valued the inputs that we were getting both from our customers and from our partners, because as an ecosystem, you have to listen to what does the customer want as the business output, and what does your partner need to get their work done at the end of the day. So we were, I'd like to think, attentive, and we took note of their asks, and we collected all these requirements together to a program that you knew as a partner what's your starting point, what you're expected to do in the middle, how this will get done, what you're getting at the end of that process.
So that's actually a good, interesting point. So having the customers start to understand the concept, you'd kind of sown a seed, and then that started to grow in the sense that it wasn't just a question of talking to other vendors is a good idea, but actually bringing the customer community in to guide some of the development, which is a good segue into I guess my next question, which is what in the context of the Telco Cloud in particular and network transformation, what actually is the program? What happens in the program? What would be the experience for a vendor that would be certified, and why would that help a customer?
So if you think about it, the customer, the communication service provider, at the end of the day, they're transitioning to software in order to be able to really deploy network services and network functions much quicker than they have been able to if they were using a hardware, like just a piece of metal that you need to put in the data center. They wanted this flexibility, and flexibility, agility, lots of words that end with ly. So what we were trying to do first and foremost is make sure that when a network function that actually worked with us gets to a customer, the customer is not the one that needs to educate them on the platform. They already know what this platform, the Telco Cloud platform that VMware has, actually offers. And if you look at our platform, there are so many capabilities in that platform. You have your virtual compute, your virtual network, your Kubernetes layer, your virtual storage, you have your network function management, your automation. There's a lot of components. So the big question is, if you just look at all that stuff, how is the customer actually using this? This was an important question for any of one of our partners, because this is like a big thing that does a lot. How is the customer actually using it? So one of the first things we did was create the technical program scope that really explained to the network function what would the customer expect you to know at the end, after we've done all these activities together with our engineering team. And that formed the scope, which we then cemented into a test plan, so an actual document that over the years became like a book. I think the last version is 150 pages long. And it's not just a list of test cases, it's actually a use case, and every one of these use cases goes into technical details and further reading, if you will, of why this is important, how you should be thinking about this, how can you implement this, what does it mean to you? And typically our engagement with the network function really starts by us sharing with them all this technical documentation and then providing them with an excellent engineering team here inside of our business unit that are there to answer questions, provide further guidance, work together on issues if there are any issues, and really be that I don't want to say support, but they're more like the partners with whom you work to achieve the thing at the end, which is certification.
So it's actually, so a few interesting points that came out of that description there. So the first thing I took away from that, which I hadn't thought of it this way, but from a technology partner perspective, who's looking to run their VNF or their CNF, what you can do within the program is expose them to what is effectively a good representation of what the communication service provider environment is likely to look like. So this is not just saying, is it compatible? This is actually talking about how would you put that into as a real world situation as we can emulate, to understand how your network function as a vendor would operate in that environment. So from the vendor point of view, they're getting exposure, I guess, to understanding more of the real world requirements and the real world options for deploying their particular function in a real world environment. And then I suppose the flip side of that is then from a customer, a CSP point of view, they should be able to expect that particular vendor's function to be more easily deployed, meaning shouldn't take as long, shouldn't be as risky, should be more predictable, because you've now been through that process with the vendor and you've got the guidelines, you've got the points of reference as to how you would deploy it. So it is really quite a practical way of accelerating that onboarding process when the particular vendor's technology lands at the customer. It's much more than just a certification program or a certification approval. Interoperability type test. This is a functioning guidance, if you like, as to how to get that function working in a production environment.
Yeah, and you summarized it perfectly, Nigel. And what we saw initially was that if there are interoperability delays or if there's misunderstanding of how to use both sides, okay, because it is, at the end of the day, it's always, when you talk about interoperability, you take one thing and you make it work with something else, right? it's always a push and pull, right? And it's to make them work together, both have to align properly. So
does that mean that there's a three-way win here? So does that mean that when you're conducting some of these engagements with other vendors, does this potentially also feed back into our own development? Does this give us feedback as well, so we can actually
absolutely
look at how we develop the next version?
That's also why we do this centrally, because that's also why we are so working hands in hand with our product management team, because it is a valuable input also for our product development, and it also is a valuable input or output, if you will, to our partner product development. So we have been in situations where we realize, oh, we need to improve something in one of our products, and partners have also adjusted or adapted some of their software to our program, which is why I see that we have here the slide, which is why it's always been very important for us to make the output of the program visible to our customers and our partners. So that's why it's you can see here that all the certifications, which is basically the end of the process, is a certification. There's a test, there's a list of test cases, you get check marks, and our goal is basically, as long as the collaboration takes, how do we fix everything so that we can get to the certification? Well, once we got to the certification, we published them on the marketplace, which is the VMware Marketplace, and that really helps the customer when they're looking for best of breed application to see, oh, has there been engagement between these two vendors, VMware and this other vendor? And it also helps the partners themselves to show potential customers, we work with VMware, here's a certification. So we push all that information outwards towards the market, and obviously the path to get there, that's between us and the partners.
But that path, what I'm beginning to realize from this conversation, that path is actually probably the most important part of it. Yes, we need to go through that final piece and the certification aspect, but the journey to get there, and it's not a test, pass, fail, it's a journey to get to the point where it is, the outcome is a certification, but it doesn't necessarily mean a simple bring it into the lab, test it, pass or fail. It's bring it into the lab, work together, develop it, and then establish the certified sort of status at the end of that, which is a different way of looking at it from perhaps the way I thought about it. And we should actually give it a name check as well. So just for people, if they're interested, the program we're talking about, it's the VMware Ready for Telco Cloud. So if people are looking to sort of Google what the program is, VMware Ready for Telco Cloud, and you can actually get the information if you go to telco.vmware.com/partners. So that would be the other way of looking for information. So so that's great. Just starting to sort of ease towards a close, because we try and keep these conversations quite short, Jambi. They're supposed to be coffee length, so hopefully people have been having their coffees. Just thinking about it, we mentioned right at the top of this, this started 5-6 years ago. A lot has happened since then. So how do you see the program developing? We're seeing, if I remember at the beginning of this program, we weren't talking that much about cloud native. We weren't talking that much about Kubernetes. A lot of these things have come to the fore relatively recently. So is that affecting how you see the program moving forward?
Yeah, very much so. So we've always adapted our program, first of all, to the customer needs, and obviously to our offering from VMware, to the platform that we were providing. And last year, for example, when our business unit released Telco Cloud Automation, TCA, what we typically refer to, we started including that in the program as part of the scope. So actually getting that network function ready to even more quickly be deployed by our software is really top of mind for our customers and top of mind for us as well. So, and it's tied very, very closely to the move to Kubernetes as a distribution mechanism and package format and philosophy of software creation that we see by the platform and by the network functions that are all in the process of migrating towards that. So, of course, the program has adopted and adjusted and changed its scope. We also always, not just to match our own product offering, but also to match what our customers are looking for. So we have an ongoing dialogue with the customers so that we can actually get feedback on what do you need? What can we do better to serve your needs? How can we further accelerate? And yeah, right now the engineering team are really focused on Kubernetes. How can we make Kubernetes easier for our customers, and how can we make sure that this idea that did not change in our customers' mind, they still want a platform. Now the platform, which is open and is meant to run lots of different workloads on top of it, now it's not just lots of different workloads, it's also different format for these workloads. They will be virtual machines running for a while because everybody's going to want to migrate to cloud native, but it takes time. And there's going to be new workloads that are going to be only available in cloud native and will not exist in any other format. And so now the customers are saying, well, I want a platform to have everything on it. And that's what the program is also adapting towards.
Cool, interesting. So actually, as you say, as we brought in more automation in terms of the product portfolio, we're actually building that automation into some of the onboarding development within the program that you're running, and moving forward to things like cloud native and Kubernetes. So bringing in the technologies and also the principles of operation, if you like. So as I say, we're running out of time, so we need to probably wrap this conversation up. But thanks, Jambi. I mean, I've learned quite a bit actually about the workings behind the program that I probably wasn't aware of and probably should have been. So thank you for enlightening me on that, and hopefully the folks listening as well. If anybody wants more information on this, obviously we're running this on LinkedIn. You're very welcome to leave comments on LinkedIn, and we'll try and respond to those in due course, or as I say, we mentioned the URL, which is telco.vmware.com/partners. But I think the bigger picture here is coming back to the theme, the power of community. It's a good example, another example of working the way the world works nowadays, especially in telco, moving very much to ecosystem play. So thanks again, Jambi, for giving us that insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for those listening to it as well. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Nigel.
Cheers.